Gives me great pleasure to talk today, and really appreciate the opportunity that Rob and Amy have given us at Les Mills to talk to everybody that's in the room around our latest research, Generation Active in clubs around the world. Now, before we start, a couple of things, just a caveat for today's presentation. First up, this isn't a product pitch on Les Mills. I'm not going to talk about our programs and what we do. It may be a couple of elements towards the end around some of the successes that we had and how we're evolving. But today is about our latest research. For those of you that aren't aware, Les Mills, whilst we produce world-class group exercise content, we're also a research body. And today is about sharing that latest research to give you an overview and an understanding of what's happening around the world with what we've deemed Generation Active. But I don't presume everybody knows who Les Mills are, so I'm going to start with a very brief video, which gives a little bit of background about Les Mills and our history. If it will play. There we go.
No, I said it's true. I can feel the love. Can you feel it too? I can feel it all. I can feel it all. You know I said it's true. I can feel the love. Can you feel it too? I can feel it all. I can feel it all. Yeah. You know I said it's true. I can feel the love. Can you feel it too? I can feel it all. I can feel it all. You know I said it's true. I can feel the love. Can you feel it too? I can feel it all. I can feel it all.
So there's just a little bit about Les Mills, our origins, our history, where we've come from, and a snapshot of some of the products that we utilize. But I'll start with this. It really is a huge opportunity for me to talk to you guys today, and why I was so interested when speaking to Rob about being part of the Independent Gyms group, in that Les Mills is an independent gym. We started out with one gym in Auckland, in New Zealand, in 1968. It was known then as Les Mills World of Fitness. Les Mills was the mayor of Auckland at the time and a former Commonwealth athlete, and he developed this concept around gyms within New Zealand. It's seen as the mainstay of gyms within Auckland and the surrounding areas in New Zealand as well. But the reason I wanted to include that here is that we are still an operator at heart, and we have an independent mindset. Whilst we've created products and programs that feature in over 21,000 clubs around the world, with over 150,000 instructors, and as you saw, 7 million different workout engagements every single week, we still resonate and sit within that independent space. So I said right at the beginning that we're not just a fitness provider, but we're a research agency, and everything we do is backed by science. So today's presentation is about what we've learned from clubs around the world, particularly with the new generation of members coming through. So we commissioned a study last year of 4,000 fitness consumers across the UK, US, Europe, and China to uncover exactly what are Generation Z looking for. What is the new consumer looking for when it comes to engaging within a fitness product? And what is it that's going to keep them coming back for more? Because that's our future opportunity. So we'll dig into a little bit about demographics today. There is a little bit of audience participation involved as well. So we're going to have to get you guys involved. I was hoping there'd be a few more people, but it's fine that we've got the people in the room. And I'll detail some of that research. Our purpose at Les Mills, though, is this. We want to help the world fall in love with fitness. Our ethos, our mindset is, how do we create a fitter planet? So one of the things that we do, and one thing that we've looked at post-pandemic, is how do we give back to the community and the industry, but how do we give back to the planet as well? So for every new club that comes on board, we'll plant 10 trees. For every instructor that goes through our trainings, we'll plant a tree. So we're looking at that sustainability factor as well, which holds us in a great position for this new population coming through. But as I said, before we get into some of the research, I just want to take a moment to look at the different demographics of your membership currently. Let's start off with the baby boomers. 1948 to 1964 was the birth date. And on screen, you can see that there are a number of different things that would resonate with this demographic and this age population. David Bowie, Jimi Hendrix being the stars. TVs in black and white, as we've got here. The cell phones that weren't really cell phones, that took 15 hours to charge and had 20 minutes of battery, and you held it on your shoulder when you wanted to make a phone call. And then we've actually got VHS and Betamax there. That was that generation. Then really the main generation for the fitness population, when we look at the demographic across the UK, Generation X was historically where many operators would focus their time. And this was Back to the Future, MTV being a key part of the community growing up. Does anyone remember cassettes and having to wheel them on with a pencil as we're doing there when they broke? Or worse still, your favorite cassette, you tape them back together with a bit of sellotape and the song would cut out for 2 seconds and come back in. We've got LL Cool J, and this is how we process data down here with discs. So Generation X is still an important part of the demographic in the fitness industry, and for many operators out there that will continue to do so. But where it gets really exciting was where it started to change. That was when the millennial population came through, between 1981 and 1996. By the way, the Generation X was what's known as it's a horrible thing to say, but it's the 9/11 generation. It's people that went through 9/11 and saw the world change and evolve in that time frame. Millennials were much younger when this occurred, but this generation were different in terms of they were embracing technology. The Apple Shuffle, Blu-ray and also compact disc, brand new laptops, photographs being a brand new innovation as well. And does anyone remember, did anyone have one of these? A Nokia 8210. Still the best, do you still play Snake on it? Because that was the main purpose of having a Nokia 8210, was playing Snake as a game, nothing else. But that was the millennial generation. What we're going to talk about today, though, is the millennial generation and Gen Z. Very, very different community, looking at data being really available on quite a consistent basis. Depop in terms of buying and selling clothing, Spotify, the Disney Channel with Adele and Ed Sheeran representing that demographic firmly. So that's where we believe the future of fitness lies, what we've dubbed Generation Active, the millennial and Gen Z population. It's hard to believe that 15 to 27-year-olds will soon make up 30% of the world's population. From the research that we found from the Consumer Fitness Report that we ran in 2021, 80% of health clubs around the world right now are made up of this population. Now, some of you may be sitting there going, well, that doesn't resonate with me. That's not my membership base currently. That may be the case, but in the most profitable and popular gyms around the world, 80% of the membership are made up of this population. So how do we embrace this? How do we tap into this and understand what they value to ensure that our products are meeting the demand? So let's take a second to look at what they truly value. Generation Active value a number of different key things. Equality and diversity are absolutely at the forefront of their mind. They're globally conscious. You'll find now that in Generation Z, and to a degree in millennials as well, they have the planet first mentality. Greta Thunberg is the most famous Gen Zer around the world because she speaks a mind about what's happening with the planet and has gained great traction through social media to ensure that that voice is heard. They're digitally connected and very trend-focused as well. They will consume content through a digital platform and not through traditional forms of media. So it's important that you have a social presence that represents your brand. They're highly engaged with mobile phones and data as well. We'll touch upon that in a moment. But how are you tapping into your own opportunities by utilizing a mobile-first approach rather than a website approach first? And they crave connection. This is probably the biggest one. 87% of Gen Z and millennials state that they crave connection when it comes to some form of workout capacity. Now, whether that be through digital content, whether it be one-on-one connection, finding different ways to connect overall. So as I said right at the beginning, we need a little bit of audience participation. Quick show of hands in the room. Who currently has an Apple iPhone on them currently? I have to say that because this only works if you can do this. So everybody with an Apple iPhone, can you stand up for me, please? Actually, everyone stand up, but it's really for the guys with the phones. If you're standing next to somebody, you can do this as well. So open up on your phone, settings, and go to screen time. Some of you are going to have a shock here because you're going to find exactly, where's my eggs? Well, you're going to find out what's going on with your screen time straight away. This is going to be slightly different. So into settings, type in screen time, and you'll have a number on your average screen time. Sit down if it says 1 hour. Sit down if it says 2 hours. Good man, well done. 3 hours. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 hours screen time. Oh, it's only just loaded. Oh, there we go. So it wasn't 8. Okay, so 4 or 5 hours is what we found as the average screen time. Now, don't do what one of our teams said, which is, mine's 11 hours, but that's because I have YouTube playing in the background while I'm working. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, you've been going down the minefield of TikTok again, haven't you, and just scrolling through that doom scrolling. The reason I'm asking this is because Gen Z will spend approximately 10.6 hours per day on their phone. 4 hours of which will be on some form of social media. What do you think the remainder of that time is? Chatting, messaging, texting, WhatsApp. Yep, TikTok as well, going through all of those elements. And they're looking at around about 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Why is this important when we're thinking about engagement and connection? Because this population connects in a different way. And by the way, I didn't mention this at the beginning, I should have said it. I will refer to them as they, as if they aren't in the room and they are this mythical unicorn that we'll never find. That's not the intention, by the way. I will do that only because it makes it a lot easier when we're doing this talk to talk about them as a they. So what content do Gen Z engage with when they're on their phones? What is it that they're looking at that's slightly different? A number of reels here to show you exactly where they're spending their time. First up, it's about being inspirational with your social connectivity. With your social branding, it's about absolutely being engaging with that content. But you'll see here, it's about influencers and not brands. Gen Z and millennials are more likely to connect with influence that they find credible than brands that are manufacturing content that they believe will be attractive to that population. It's also about motivation. Looking at TikTok, looking at Twitter, looking at Facebook, although Facebook is a little older for more like the Gen X's like myself, but looking at social platforms for motivational quotes and saying. But also it's not all doom and gloom, it's actually light-hearted as well. So using social brands to actually connect with some form of humor and connection throughout there as well. So let's look at the anatomy of a Gen Active. And this is where we really dive into the research, and hopefully you'll get some lessons today that will influence how you manipulate your product. First up is wellness is key. It's no longer about fitness. It's no longer about aesthetics. It is absolutely a key part of what this population will look for, but wellness is probably the number one thing that they're looking for overall. Gen Z are 3 times more likely to place importance on well-being than older work colleagues, with 89% prepared to quit the company if that company doesn't focus on wellness. And 72% says managing stress and mental health is the most important health and wellness score. We've got to remember that this is a population that lived through a global pandemic. And whilst many of us are resilient enough to actually get through this, this is all they knew for a number of years. Their education changed. Their connection with their friends changed to a digital-first strategy. It was doom and gloom out there for a number of years, and we all felt that in the industry in terms of how our businesses were running, but the population themselves really found it to be challenging. So as we drill down into the Gen Z picture, let's have a look at training. First up, 36% of Gen Z are working out regularly. Now compare that to the older population. We've been banging on for years about the percentage of the UK population engaging with some form of regular activity and joining health clubs. It's never really extended beyond 13 or 14%. But if we do the short maths on that, with 30% of the global workforce being millennial or Gen Z in the next few years, 36% are working out regularly. This is a huge opportunity for the industry. Similarly, 30% of Gen Z who work out regularly use some form of fitness facility. 50% aren't doing exercise but want to start. There is a latent demand of this population to join fitness facilities. And 72% of regular exercisers are doing both gym and out of gym workouts. We'll touch upon that in a moment. And the big one that really resonated with me, and when you look at the suppliers and the equipment suppliers that are in the room out there today, strength training or strength classes make up of 50% of the Gen Z group workouts. Strength training is the way forwards for this population. It's no longer the aerobics trend that it probably was for their parents and, dare I say it, grandparents previously when they were working out in facilities. It is all about strength training. They're also ready to start. They're looking to engage in activity straight away. 51% want to start exercising to get healthy, with 51% planning to join a gym also. 22%, they've got no one to work out with. That's an opportunity for me. How do you create that community? By working out with training buddies. That social connection is a demand. 22% also find gyms intimidating. Now, I find that a real challenge because having worked in the industry for too many years, when I walk into a gym now, it feels like home. No matter where I go, whatever gym I walk into, it feels like home because I know the layout. It doesn't matter if I've ever been in there before. It feels like a place where I'm safe and comfortable. But too many operators have created these spaces that are too intimidating, whether it be too clicky, equipment that's too hard to use. We'll touch upon in a moment around the most popular gym equipment for this population. But it makes sense when we think about the intimidation factor that we've got to bring this down slightly. And 31% feel like they're ready to start group workouts and they're drawn to the guidance of an instructor. Not just any instructor, a credible, connected instructor. And what we mean by that is someone that they see that they can connect with and resonate with that instructor and they find credible to deliver the workout results. When it comes to motivation, I'll skip through these relatively quickly. 49% that are already exercising want to be fitter, 47% improve appearance, and 49% to reduce stress. But the ready to start is really where we start to see around the changes around being fitter, improving appearance, and reducing stress. We want to see an adaptive change towards getting more people into the gym for wellness benefits, but also aesthetic benefits. When we first produced these results, this next slide was the one that really hit home to me. Because when we think about the population and the opportunity size, whilst it's definitely there, does it mean that they will have the disposable income ready to come and join a fitness facility? This slide really resonates. And this is from McKinsey Future of Wellness study from 2022, and it's also from our Gen Z report that we found from the consumer survey. The median monthly spend on fitness is $95, with $360 billion in disposable income. And this one, Gen Z are more motivated, 77% of Gen Z are more motivated to spend on fitness than their parents were. So think back to Gen X and the baby boomers. Disposable income in the majority of cases was around socializing, whether it be drinking in the pub, whether it be going to the movies, whether it be engaging in some form of experience. That was where disposable income went, and we knew that from the economic survey. What we're finding now is that it's about how am I invested in health, in wellness, in myself, and fitness and activity being a key part of that driver. When we think about the activities already been done in the gym, this is quite a hard slide to read, so I'll just read it off for you. The number one activity being done in the gym is pin-loaded strength training. This comes back to the intimidation factor of not knowing where to start. Our research states that when you walk into the gym and you're loaded with 100, that's an exaggeration, 10 lifting platforms, you don't know where to start. You'll look for social media content to show you how to perform that exercise, which is another minefield, by the way, when we start looking at fitness influence being the experts in exercise technique. That's another conversation. But when you walk in and you see that, actually pin-loaded equipment with safe planes of motion are the most attractive feature. The number two reason is group workouts to some form of music. So pin-loaded number one, and group workouts to music being number two. The most popular workout formats, as we said, 50% are strength-based classes. Then the next below that, stretching, mobility, yoga, and boxing. So this correlates with the trend in boutique fitness. When we think about the most popular and successful boutiques in the world, they really tapped into yoga, to boxing, and strength-based training. This is where this community has grown up and where they know. But it's not just about in-person fitness. We've also got to talk about omni-channel. The omni-channel can be used in a number of different ways, but how we categorize it is the perfect blend between live and digital. The pandemic, as we said, wasn't a nice place to be when we're in the industry. But it did do one really positive thing for our industry, which was accelerate and embrace the use of technology. Forbes called it tech acceleration. Apparently, we achieved more in 6 months during the pandemic than it took 5 years for most industries to accelerate. We adopted digital-first strategies, we stepped into that space, and we embraced that opportunity. That's something within the fitness industry that we've been lacking for a while, because we're always quite late to adopt technology trends. Now we're starting to see that further. But the activity trends are starting to show this more and more. And what we mean here is that gym-only users do an average of 3.3 visits per week. Out of gym-only exercisers do an average of 3.1 visits per week. But when you combine the two, it lifts up to 5.5 gym visits per week. Now, this is a metric that we talked about actually in the last conference when Dr. Paul Bedford was on this stage. He talked about increasing attendance as a metric of results for most operators. We believe that if we can increase the average visit of most members by 1 visit per week, there'll be a significant impact on both retention and acquisition. In fact, the research shows that if we increase by 1 visit per week, we can take the average tenure of a member from 1.5 visits to 2.5 visits, from 1 year to 10 years. We also know that when you join members, when you've got a member that joins your facility first, they may come and go and they leave and they come back. And someone I spoke to recently calls Gen Active promiscuous, but not in the sense that most of you are thinking right now. Promiscuous in terms of where they work out. They're not afraid to train here and sell their soul and go over here, but they'll come back. What we found with most operators is that whilst the 10 years may not be consistently, the rejoin factor is an element if you can get them engaging with regular forms of activity. The last thing I want to touch upon is barriers to exercise. So 2 big barriers to exercise. 18% say that the barrier to exercise is workout style, and 31% is about scheduling. So when we think about omni-fitness, this approach here around omni-fitness, it's not about offering workouts, but it's offering flexibility in workouts that are offered more often and at a time that suits. So what we would identify in terms of winning Gen Z is that omni-fitness is absolutely key. Having a live and a digital strategy to cater toward the demand. Plug into their habits. We talked about it. Strength training being number 1. Yoga, boxing. Dance is coming through as a trend as well. The challenge that we've got is that there's not enough consistency with dance-based programming to form regular habits. But dance is absolutely a regular trend that we're seeing come through. And how do you create group magic? Now, the guy from Les Mills, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to stand here and talk about the power of group exercise and group activity. But we're all social beings. We all connect on a human level, and we're looking for that connection overall. So how do you create pockets of community within your facility, whether it be buddy training? 22% state that they didn't have anybody to work out. How do you create that buddy system? How do you create small pockets of exercises within the club? So smaller communities. And if you really want to create the biggest bang for your buck, then it's all about group exercise. How do you get a community of people working out together? You saw at the beginning of the video there, one of our events, is one of our Les Mills live events, and we had one back in October in the Excel in London, where 5,000 fitness enthusiasts descended on the Excel, and we had 2,000 people in 8 classes throughout the day. It wasn't about the workouts, it wasn't about the music, it was about the connection, the engagement, and the community that was built off the back of that for us. That was a really, really powerful event. So drilling down further into Gen Z, how do you win with your program innovation? Now, I did say I wouldn't talk about Les Mills in terms of our products and programming, but I will share these next couple of slides with you, more to show how we've adapted and changed as well. Not so about actually talking about the products and programming, but how we adapt in towards Gen Active. I'll skip that video. It's about new programming and trends to attract Gen Z and Millennials that are quick and easy to launch. We've been accused in the past of being difficult to do business with. Absolutely, because we make it too complex. How do you engage instructors? How do you excite your instructors and bring them to the timetable and drive growth? So I won't talk about this slide, but I'll just put it on the screen to show these are the suites of programs that we currently operate. but really how we're spending our time developing and growing our programming to meet the Gen Z demand is there's a suite of programming here that are brand new to the market, that have a different training principle, that are quick and easy to launch and meet the demand. Strength development being first, because strength training is number one, and shapes being our sculpt program. If you want more information on that, then we've got a team out there on the stand, which we are happy to talk to. The other thing is just how we're changing from group training to Gen Fit training and the adaptations of the programs. But once again, I'm not going to talk about that today. So I think I'm running close to time, Rob. I'm looking at Rob, he's talking. I think I'm running close to time, Rob. 10 I've got 10 minutes, cool. So I wanted to leave a little bit of time for questioning, but I also wanted to share this with you. For far too long in the fitness industry, it's been tough going. And it's been a point where actually working out has been more challenging than it has been fun. So we've changed our brand philosophy, and we've got a brand new brand campaign that I wanted to share with you today. And it's something that I want you to take away from today's presentation, not just about how you adapt and change towards the new population, but what's your mindset in terms of how you're looking at that population? What are you choosing to do?
There are no shortcuts in this life. No success without sacrifice. I will push past the pain. I will ignore the voice of my father.
Is that all you've got? Come on, no pain, no gain.
I will break free from the shadows of yesterday and run towards the light. Tick tock, tick tock. Time is running out.
Hurry up! I didn't tell you to stop.
The night is my shepherd. And through the ashes, I will rise once more.
No pain, no gain. No pain, no.
Hey! What's going on in here?
Nothing? Just working out?
You know workouts don't have to be so...
Is this heaven?
No. New Zealand. It's where Les Mills comes from.
Oh, guys, nice.
They have heaps of workouts anyone can enjoy. Even you. You bloody weirdo. It's about a smile.
No.
So Choose Happy is our new brand campaign. We want you to feel like the industry isn't as it was right at the beginning there. That's Brett Goldstein. Many of you will know him from Ted Lasso fame as Roy Kent. And by the way, we're not going to change our workouts where we start going, whistle, or no. We're not going to change it to that. We'd love to. Thank you. It hurts my voice. I'm not doing it again. But the reason I wanted to play that today is really because that's the mindset. For far too long in the industry, we've had that approach. No pain, no gain. Beasting people until they were throwing up. The parents shouting at the kids. It hurt me as a dad as well to see that. You kind of want to turn that off. But I wanted to just leave you with that because Choose Happy is something that we believe in. And if we're really going to tap into this new population, a new generation, we've got to bring the fun back. We've got to bring the fun back to group workouts. We've got to bring the fun back to training and working out in fitness facilities. And that's really where we're going to spend the rest of our time in terms of Les Mills and how we're supporting the industry. So that was my last point, but I was going to leave some time for questions if anyone had any. And usually when we have research back data, there are a few questions. We'd love to know if anyone's got any questions out there. Absolutely. What have we got?
Hello.
How do you find screen time on your phone? No, not that question. No,
Yeah.
got it.
Not too bad, 4 hours. I was at the event in October, which was brilliant, the live event, absolutely awesome. As a Les Mills instructor, love Les Mills, and the class coordinator at our gym. Obviously, we obviously hold the Les Mills classes, which are running really well. But the only thing we're struggling with is the virtual. We've got every single virtual in our classes, but it's not very popularly used. We don't get many people using it, so I'm like, how can we generate people to and encourage them to use virtual?
So it's important with virtual-based classes you have a different lens on what good looks like. Virtual-based classes aren't about filling the studio 24/7. Virtual-based classes are about giving an option and an availability for people to work out when they want to. So Wexer will talk about this, and they're the global leaders in terms of platforms around research on virtual. The average attendance in the best clubs around the world is 7 to a virtual class, 7 people attending. If you can get that to 2, 3, or 4 people, that will positively influence the exercise habits of those that we're talking about. And when we think about omni-channel and increasing by 1 visit per week, how do you get more people into virtual? How do you do that on the practical level? Is a number of different ways. Who's talking about virtual in your club? Is it the instructors talking about it? Is the front of house staff? Are the sales team on the sign-up journey, are they talking about virtual? It's making sure that the on-demand offering is available for everybody when they want it. Also, as well, making sure that you're promoting that it's safe for new people to come and try it. It's one of the things we found in our clubs in New Zealand. The biggest club that we've got has over 11,000 members with 10,000 visits to their main studio every single week. They've also run virtual studios. The biggest draw, though, was how you get new people in to dip their toe in the water to try something. I don't want to go to body pump because it looks really crazy and the instructors are nutter and screaming and sweating everywhere. Or I don't want to go to body jam because I have no idea how to dance and I feel like I'm going to be uncoordinated. But if I go to one of those classes in the virtual capacity, I can try it. I can leave when I want. It's a safe space to go and make mistakes. So use it as your onboarding journey to get new members engaged. Talk about it in every interaction that you possibly can. The other thing that I would recommend is where you can get your fitness team taking people in to try out the workouts as part of their induction and onboarding as well. And what you'll find, you'll get people just going, I'll give that a go, and they don't feel so intimidated walking into that studio. If you want more information on that, Mr. Joe Kelway's at the back, who is a customer experience manager for Les Mills. He's the god on virtual. He'll talk to you about everything you need to know. Cool. Hi.
I had 2 questions, if that's all right.
Of course.
First one is, how do you conduct your research? Is it like surveys or focus groups or...?
Both. But in this particular instance, the 4,000 people that we surveyed actually went to a much larger population. It was 4,000 respondents. That's the first thing. Is that we sent it out to random selected consumers, both included in fitness and not included in fitness. And we work with a data analysis company that help us to do this. So it wasn't fitness participants. We do a lot of research around our gyms and our partner gyms around the world, but this was a completely random cross-section of society in UK, US, Germany, China, and that's how we collated that data.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Second question is, do you think that by focusing on like the younger population would have any negative repercussions, such as alienating the older generation from like using the gym?
Sorry, what was I didn't catch that last bit.
Would it like alienate?
Alienate, sorry.
Yeah, like the older generation from using it.
If you do it well, no. The mistake that most people are hearing when we talk about this research is just focus on this over here and don't focus on the boomers and the Gen X's. What we found through our research, with our new program Strength Development that we tested, we had just as much engagement from the older population as we did the younger population. The difference was the younger population were willing to give it a go. You've already got engagement over here, and most operators that are out there have a good engagement of boomers and Gen X because they've been members for years, disposable income, a number of different reasons we can talk about. But what we're finding is this younger, fresh programming that we're releasing and we're launching, and similarly with the best clubs in the world, it's fresh and new, and there'll be a want to try it. So the mindset isn't just focus on this and forget about everyone else. It's focus on this to attract the younger people, to enhance the offering that will bring these other populations in as well. So it's both. And if that didn't come across, then I'm going to get shocked because that's absolutely our intent. That's not what we expect. Any other questions? We'll go again.
Following on from that last question, I find in our gym, in our classes, it is predominantly Gen X, not Gen Z. So,
Yep.
and the Gen Z tend to want to be in the gym.
Yep.
So is it more the type of classes that we're putting on that's not attracting them, do you think? Or
It's one part.
yeah.
It's one part is the type of classes. We didn't talk about it today, but when we did the original millennial research, where we back in 2012, 13, when we launched different programs. We did research on millennials. And there was a resounding piece of feedback that I don't want to do the same workout that my mum does, because she's been going to the gym for 15 years and she doesn't look in the shape that I want to look in. The legs, bums and tums classes is not where I want to spend my time, where I've got this person I follow on Instagram that does strength-based activities and their backside looks amazing and they're in aesthetically a good shape. So the first thing is, how do you mix it up so that you offer something new and fresh to cater towards the audience? It's not a field of dreams moment. And what I mean by that is that the line in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Don't expect that your current offering will be attractive to this population, because actually what they're saying is, we want something completely different to what you're offering. Doesn't mean they won't get into it eventually, but you've got to offer something fresh, something new, something different to get them engaged in group workouts, and then filter and blend that into your main timetable. That's the approach that we recommend. That's what we've done in our gyms in New Zealand. And in the gyms over there, we've found that actually that cross-pollination starts to happen. But you must have a mindset of something new and fresh coming to the timetable to bring people into that audience. It's not just I'll put body pump on and everyone will come along. It won't work. Are we at time? Thank you very much.
Oh. Hold on. One more question.
One more question. Go on. Thank you. We'll have that again in a minute, but yeah. Legs.
For that generation, do you have any kind of information on the problems they want to solve or the pain points that you'd market towards?
We do. I forgot to mention, the Gen Z report is downloadable, and if you want that link, we'll give you the link afterwards from the team. Within that, it talks about pain points around mental health, mental well-being, some of the challenges there, and our suggestions on how to improve that. Yeah, I mean, it's all included in that report. It's not just about the findings, it's also our recommendations as well.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right. Thanks, mate. So I am at time. Thanks, Rob. Cheers. Thank you for everybody for coming in. Appreciate your time. If you do have any questions...